Unpacking the Buddha's Second Discourse. Episode 1. Form is not self. First, what do we even mean by unpacking? We can define unpacking as the intense scrutiny of traditional Buddhist and Zen texts, a scrutiny that often breaks down the texts, sentence by sentence, term by term, and occasionally word by word. And why even unpack at all? Because not all of us have the opportunity to regularly engage with a living, breathing, enlightened teacher. Understanding that in the Zen tradition, it's this engagement that substitutes for the critical reading of the traditional texts. And so, for those who don't have the opportunity to regularly engage with a living teacher, there must be a return to the traditional texts as teacher. And with that return is the understanding that the texts are best approached as sequences of riddles, or perhaps as sequences of landmines. And these riddles must be reconciled, these landmines cleared, if we are to truly make progress. Let's begin. Consider the following text excerpted from the Sutta, Characteristics of the Not-Self. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Varanasi, in the deer park at Isipatana. There, the Buddha addressed the group of 5 mendicants. "Mendicants, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Buddha said this: "Mendicants, form is not self. For if form were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction. And you could compel form. May my form be like this. May it not be like that. But because form is not self, it leads to affliction. And you can't compel form. May my form be like this. May it not be like that." And in aiding in the unpacking of this brief excerpt, we might consider a handful of questions. First, what would be the distinction between the phrase "form is, not self" and the phrase "form is not, self"? Next, what does the Buddha mean by saying one could compel form if it were self? And why is the inability to do so significant? How does the Buddha use the concept of affliction to illustrate the distinction between form and self? What assumptions about the nature of self is the Buddha challenging in this passage? And finally, how might this teaching about form being not self also apply to the other aggregates: feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness? And so we've gotten started on the Buddha's Second Discourse. More to come.